You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This game has two transfer quarterbacks in it. Connor Wegman was fairly highly touted out of high school, and so I think people know a lot about old Connor Wegman. Well. Yeah, right, a SEC guy, A&M guy. He plays through a couple injuries and loses his job. And bluntly, A&M replaced him and, is at the top of the world right now, undefeated in the SEC, right? Meanwhile, he comes back home to Houston, a Houstonian kid, and has done very well as a dual threat quarterback at Houston, a kind of old school guy in that way, running quarterback power like Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma for a long time. I know a lot less about Taven Jackson. I was asking you questions about his background before we started the show because I know so little about Taven Jackson. What do Houston Cougar fans need to know about Taven Jackson?
Yeah, he's the former backup at Indiana. He came in and he battled with the Florida Atlantic transfer Cam Fancher for the starting job in the offseason. Fancher won that job, it should be noted. But Jackson, Scott Frost noted that it was a close race and they feel like they had a few guys who could do the job. And he felt like both these guys could do the job. But 1.5 quarters into the season, Cam Fancher got hurt because the offensive line gave up a free rusher straight on the quarterback and they murdered him and he was gone. And so Taven Jackson stepped in and really saved the day. The offense was looking really subpar for that 1.5 quarters. Jacksonville State was looking formidable defensively. Charles Kelly, former Auburn defensive coordinator, is taking over as head coach there. He's got those guys playing ball. And Taven Jackson saved the day. He saved them from an embarrassing open day loss. He went on to have a great game versus North Carolina and Bill Belichick. Tar Heels are kind of floundering, so I don't know how much of a feather in the cap that is. But again, it was a game UCF should have won and did win. And he's played well in spurts this year. Look, this is not what Houston fans should know is these quarterbacks are doing a lot of the heavy lifting because this is not a good offensive line in pass protection right now, unfortunately. Now, I don't know if you saw the news, but their position coach, Sean Clark, passed away earlier this season. So they've been playing with heavy hearts all season, losing their position coach. But they've struggled at times to protect the quarterback and give these guys time to throw. Cam Fancher is the more athletic of the two quarterbacks, and they had decided to go with him at one point because the offensive line protection was so bad. You need a guy who can move around back there and make plays. But Taven Jackson is more likely to hang in the pocket and make a throw. He's a pretty good downfield passer, and he's going to have to make plays in this one if they expect to win. So this to me, this is all about, can you get the requisite amount of quarterback play to keep the defense honest, keep those linebackers back, and then run the ball, control the clock, limit possessions for Houston offensively. Houston ranks near the bottom of the Big 12 in total yards per game, man. So you can't let them be good at the thing that they're bad at by giving them more possessions to do it here. You got to hold the ball, keep them off the field, and I think that UCF could have a chance in this one.
Well, and Houston's big thing has been they have these long possessions. They shorten the game, run and eat clock. But you're right. And their two losses especially, they've really struggled. And I guess West Virginia struggled to hold on to the football, a couple fumbles and things like that. But really struggled to get yards at all against Texas Tech. Feels like a lot of people that play Tech are saying that this year, though. So maybe that's not just us. You mentioned requisite quarterback play, though. And I like that phrase because it's not like I need a gunslinger. It's not like I need Mike Vick. It's really just like I need something positive. And Weigman has surprised so many people doing that with his legs this year, running quarterback power read stuff and getting on the option game and true old Vince Young style zone read stuff to like everything, right? Which leads me to, I think you mentioned the pass protection being poor. If UCF had their way, they'd run the ball a lot on Friday night. And what's that look like?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do want to go back to Weigman for a second. Like, again, what stands out, again, a better than 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. will get the job done most of the time. He's not a big turnover guy so far this year. And so, on both sides, if you can protect the football, you're going to have a better chance in this one, especially for Houston, coming in here, to the bounce house for this game here. It's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. And, they take this game seriously here in Orlando. But, the way I'm looking at it, I think that Miles Montgomery and Jaden Nixon are big play run guys. And, I think that there wasn't a serious commitment to the run for whatever reason. UCF abandoned the run versus Baylor, and they didn't need to. They could have leaned on them, and eventually they were going to break. And I hope that, what we see versus Houston is that they don't abandon the run too quickly in this one, because, right now you don't have the offensive line to sit back and play and go gunslinger for gunslinger. I think UCF loses that kind of game with Houston. And, so put the pressure on the running backs on your senior Miles Montgomery, put it on the transfer Jaden Nixon. These guys can carry the load, I promise. And then you want Taven Jackson to make plays and spots to keep your offense moving. But on first and second down, run the ball, try to get ahead of the chains, try to get the third and manageable every single down. And then you just have to have good plays, man, to convert. And that's just it. I don't think Scott Frost was necessarily in his bag play calling against Baylor. He's going to have to be in his bag definitely against Houston.
Well, and so when it comes down to the, staying ahead of the chains and playing clean football, it's almost cliche because every program will say we don't want to commit penalties and stuff like that. Different programs do it different levels of or have different levels of success. Scott Frost was kind of, frankly, known for that kind of stuff in his first stint at UCF. He was a very disciplined program. In their 4 wins, I'd imagine that's gone well for them, Mike. But they're not 4-0, and so is that you say that is that going to be a problem for them Friday night as you watch? I mean, you watch them every week very closely.
Yeah, I think it could be, right? Like, this is just a very incomplete team right now, and I think that's my message to most people. Again, year one, you're trying to lay the foundation. You got to go out and you got to recruit. But I like that Scott Frost is not making excuses for where they're at. He's just simply saying, you know what? We got to do better. We've got to coach it better. We've got to get better in every aspect of the game. So, this week, that was a big focus in practice was just get back to the fundamentals. Let's erase the stupid penalties that plague us. Let's play our brand of football. He described this offense this offseason as like trying to learn a different language for these players, and that we're barely fluent, halfway through the spring. And, coming into fall camp, they were a little bit more fluent, but I'm not sure that they got quite there. And so sometimes installing a whole new system with a bunch of new players is a multi-year task, and UCF is not even a whole year into that right now. So, look, the bottom line is they got to get better in a lot of things here. I think Houston is in a good spot to come in and try to get a win here. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I do think that, this game could go either way. We talked about the spread before we started recording, 1.5. And I think it flipped from one to the other in the last few days. So certainly a lot of people think this is a coin flip. The ESPN matchup predictor has been pretty accurate on UCF games right now. They're giving UCF a 60.4% chance to win this game. I'm not sure it's that high, but I do think this will be a good game.